All right, well, welcome everybody to Well Women Wednesday. My name is Dacia Moore. I'm a licensed professional counselor and executive director of Gateway of Hope. And today is February 10th,
I
2021. So glad that you're here
Spanish.
joining us.
I love it.
I am going to share my screen and then we are going to begin our conversation today on this Well Women Wednesday. So glad that we have some great friends here and we're glad that you're here and that you're watching. All right, so we are here every Wednesday from 12 to 12:30 Central Standard Time to talk about women's mental health. And today we're going to be talking about the pandemic, your physical health, and your mental health. But with it being February, we are going to have a Black History moment. So I'd like to introduce you to Mamie Phipps Clark. She was the first African American woman to earn a doctorate degree in psychology from Columbia University. Her experience in college and specifically graduate level courses helped her realize the shortage of psychological services available to African Americans and other minorities. She and her husband, Kenneth Bancroft Clark, are best known for the famous doll study, in which more than 200 Black children participated. Both Mamie and Kenneth Clark worked on the study, providing invaluable evidence in favor of ending school segregation in the Supreme Court case of Brown versus Board of Education, citing that school segregation was psychologically harmful to Black children. And so you may have heard of the doll study, where several children of different races were given pictures of dolls, and they were to identify the doll that they preferred. And all of them selected the white doll. And so that was the beginning of the testing that they did. Now, her husband, Dr. Clark, was the first ever Black president of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark's dedication and passion for adequate mental health services for all prompted her to open her own agency to provide comprehensive psychological services to the poor, to Blacks, and other minority children and families. In February of 1946, Dr. Clark and her husband opened the doors of the Northside Center for Child Development for those in the Harlem area. She worked in the center counseling and providing other psychological services from 1946 until 1979 when she retired. And although retired, Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark served on different advisory boards and was very active in her community, and she passed in 1983. So, a wonderful pioneer for psychological services in the African American community, and we appreciate her for that. Well Women Wednesday is here every Wednesday, sponsored by Gateway of Hope. We are a nonprofit women's counseling and life coaching center, and our mission is to lead women to discover hope, pursue healing, and live in wholeness through counseling, coaching, and support groups. And that is why we bring you Well Women Wednesday every Wednesday. So join us and like us on our social media because we have lots of events like Lifeline to Hope. That occurs. And so tonight we have the iTangle Parenting. You can go to our website for more information. This is not counseling. This is a discussion. If you get triggered, get some help. Here are a couple of numbers for you. And just to be sure that you know that this session is being recorded and you can take a look at it on our YouTube channel later on today. So let's get down to brass tacks. The pandemic, your physical health, and your mental health. Let me share some interesting stats with you. Okay, first of all, if you've been reading up or keeping up with the news, you know that the pandemic has had a devastating effect on our physical health for those who have contracted the disease, and actually for those who have not but have some concern about their family members. over 400,000 dead as of yesterday. I think it was 435 million. I'm sorry, not thousand, 400. So this is wrong. I think it's 4 million. Does anybody know? Actually, it's not.
I think that's in the United States, Stacia.
In the United States. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Denise. We've had a record number of hospitalizations. And did you know, or do you know about long haulers? Long haulers are those who have contracted the virus, young and or old, who have symptoms far past their recovery. And long haulers have long-term symptoms that affect their quality of life. And it is a mixed group. And the danger is that it can trigger long-lasting damage to major organs like your heart, lungs, and brain. So it's not just a matter of getting the pandemic and recovering. God hope that you do. But there's also some folks who have these that are called long haulers that have these long-term effects. So very, very stressful. We know that the pandemic has decimated our economy. And unfortunately, women have felt the brunt of that more than men. 4.6 million payroll jobs have been lost by women in the United States since the pandemic began. Single mothers have lost their jobs, restaurateurs, clerks, barbershops, beauty shops, retail, all of the industries that have been the hardest hit have majority of women employed in them. Schools, 77% of employees at schools are women. So that has not only the physical part of it, but the economic cost has certainly caused us to feel, many women to feel, I feel like a ticking bomb that is constantly being pushed to the breaking point. These quotes are from a series from the New York Times, and I read part of the series on Sunday, and it's called The Primal Scream, The Primal Scream, because women are up to here with having to take care of everything in the midst of this pandemic. I have to keep it together. Have you ever felt like that? I cannot fall apart. I've felt like that. I've had clients say, I can't fall apart. I can't self-care because I've got to take care of everybody else. I worry all of the time. And I feel so guilty because I'm not doing anything right. If I were a better mom, if I were a better wife, if I was better organized, if I were. As a counselor, those messages are not unusual for women to have, but in the pandemic, everything has been intensified. And that is why it is so important that we address this issue in Well Women Wednesday and continue to have a powerful conversation. Just Monday, President Biden did an interview with CNN, and he's calling this a mental health crisis. 20 million children have not been in the classroom for almost a year, and that is causing a mental health crisis. That is what is happening in our homes today with women. So today, I want to, first of all, I think it's important that we recognize. Let's hone this down from all these statistics and all of the things that we're hearing on the media to you. The first step is to recognize what is going on in your body. Okay. What is going on in your body? The second step is to admit it. I'm human. I am struggling. I am having difficulty. And then the last step is to address it. What are we, or what can you do to address it? What can you do to help yourself be healthier? You know, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this progress. We want to make progress. We want to position ourselves in such a way that we are moving in a direction, moving toward that intentional, I will be strong, I will get through this. But that requires preparation, and it certainly requires prayer. You know, the Bible says that I wish for your soul to be in good health and for you to prosper. I was talking to a young lady the other day, and she says, I think God is mad at me. I don't think he's hearing my prayers. And I'm like, no, that is not true. God is not mad at you. He does hear your prayers, but you have to position yourself in such a way that you are communing with him. And how do we do that in this pandemic? How do we do that? How do we even make the time and the space for prayer when I've got to take care of the kids, I got to homeschool, I got to, you know, all of that, all of those things that we have to do. So the progress is important. The position is important uh, to prepare. You know, we could spend a whole session on these, and we certainly want to pray. But my question to you today, and I want to have a really robust discussion. How has the pandemic affected your mental health? Okay. How, and let's get back to recognize. The first step in solving a problem is recognizing it and then admitting it. And this is a safe space. You know, I don't want you to get too emotional, but the pandemic has affected all of us. It is a worldwide crisis. And in order for us to get to the other side, we have got to admit what is going on and figure out how can we move ahead. And this is a community conversation to say, okay, yeah, this is wearing on me. I mean, it's almost a year. Next month it's going to be a year that we have sheltered in place, wear masks, and all the other things that we've had to do. So I'm just curious because I'm sure there are different stories. What story would you like to share on how the pandemic has affected either your physical health or your mental health?
I'll share. Um, I think I've been affected really significantly, and for a couple of reasons. But before that, how it shows up is definitely stressed. I think somebody mentioned last week or how they feel it right here.
Mhm.
And so really dealing with that, the physical thing, and then um, trying to develop coping skills around that, like not overeating, not indulging in French fries, those kinds of things. But just kind of adding to being locked down um, is the fact, starting a new position and having to do that in the virtual environment has been a little bit, it has been very challenging. Having to step into a leadership role and then not having the ability to, interact in a physical space has been a bit of a challenge. And in trying to figure out ways to keep my team motivated, to address the morale issues and really feeling that burden of having to do that. So those are some of the things that I'm dealing with and how I'm feeling.
Hey, man, you got paper? You got tissue?
Be sure to mute your yourself if we can minimize
I
some
get a
background
tissue.
noise. Um, from a professional standpoint, let's talk about that a little bit. Keeping your team motivated. I don't even know how you do that when we're on Zoom all the time. I mean, it's exhausting. And as okay, so on Monday, as an example, we came in, I was sad after Sunday's game. And I said to one of my staff, because we come in, but we can social distance. And I said to her, you know, it's okay. Just feel your feelings. Just flow through the grief and loss of and the disappointment. And she said, Miss D, only in a counseling center would somebody say that to me. So, you know, it is a blessing to work in this environment. But of course, not everybody does. And so how do we connect with each other, you know, and I don't know if it's hold each other's hands. You know, I have some ideas on that, but everybody is struggling. And when you're not in a counseling environment where people understand the emotional toll, there can be some real upset to that. There can be some people who don't get it. Oh, just get over it. You know, why is that kid always running through through the house? And it's like, are you kidding me? Other stories.
I'll share. I know one way that Janine, that you connect with your team or so is that I worked in a virtual environment before the pandemic, prior to getting laid off. But what we would do, we was already in a virtual setting for many years, and so we would reach out. Well, I personally would reach out to my team, to my coworkers, and just say, "Hey, good morning. How are you doing?" Or, "Hey, you know, someone's birthday coming up. Happy birthday to you." So it's just it's the small things that add up. You know, how you doing this morning? Or, how was your weekend? You don't have to have a long conversation. People just need to know that you care.
You did that
And so
individually? You did that individually, Lisa, with your team?
I did that. hmm And some people, in a virtual world, they like to just be in their own world and work. You know, the ones who you can reach out to. Some people are, need that kind of connection more than others. And so that's just something that I like to do. And one way, like I said, how the pandemic has affected me is through the job loss, through financial. So it has been mentally draining, exhausting, and you have to keep on. You get all kind of rejections, and you fall down, you cry a bit, you get back up, you smile, you brush yourself off, and you have to keep on fighting. Mentally, you have to hold it together. Is
Yeah,
every day easy? Absolutely not.
yeah, yeah. This is a difficult environment for that because I'm just thinking of other times when I've been looking for a job or have had a difficult time. You know, you can go to the coffee shop, you can go to the library, you can go around other people and just kind of get lost. You can go shopping or window shopping, but we can't do that now. So, you know, lockdown is the right word. We are locked down and it feels very constrictive, very um, uh, um, it's very difficult. What might the Lord be teaching you in this period? What might the Lord be trying to, because he's always trying to teach us something. And so I'll just put that out there as another question. Robin, it looked like you had something to say, and Ms. Gail, I wasn't sure if you had something that you wanted to say either, but.
Oh, go ahead, Gail.
Okay, I think I'm on.
Yeah.
I really like the point of like acknowledging that you are being taught something. However, I think that that's a challenge in that when you're in the middle of a lockdown, you're locked up, we might not see it as quickly. And what I found is like I go in waves. So So like a couple of weeks ago, I was like a witch. I mean, I had the broom, the hat. I don't care if you eat, don't talk to me, that kind of thing. And then I said, oh, wait. I got to pull this together because when you are in a confined setting, and even though like I don't have staff, I can't call my husband staff, I guess I could, but but you still have to be mindful that it's not just you. And so I had to go inward and try to work on me. Now, for those of you that know me, I really love quotes. So I've gotten back into my quotation thing, and I had to start reading because that's what feeds me. And I get that, you know, and so it really has helped me. So just to be able to find what feeds you so that you have that strength to keep getting up, Felisa, to keep getting up, baby, you know, you have to feed yourself. So whatever that you can glean from what he's trying to tell us, take it and run. And then we got to exercise. We have got to exercise. I've been walking around here crippled up for a week trying to figure out, whoa, what's wrong? So I took this little Zoom class like this morning, and it was like, duh, you know, and it, and I feel so much better, you know, but that also helps me to kind of watch what I'm eating too, because, you know, you mindless eat, and I am really guilty of that. But like you said, to recognize that problem, admit it, and then what am I going to do to address it? So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to continue with that, so I'm in touch with that emotion of needing to get up off my butt and do something. This morning I woke up going, I think I'll just go take a nap, you know, at 10 o'clock. So anyway, I got up and I went and did my bike, and having brain fog, you know, when you're at home and there's so many things that are competing, because when you can get up and go to the office, that separates you from your personal life, right? That goes, but when you're working from home, and you may have an office, but you have to get yourself to go into that office. So I think for me, it was good to just get up. I knew I would feel better after I did it. And then now my brain fog has kind of let up a little bit and I can focus. But I think we have to acknowledge that there was real value in being able to separate our place of business from our home, because our home is where we're supposed to be able to relax and just chill. And now we have to kind of segregate our days into chunks of work versus home. So,
You know, that is a very interesting point. Both of you brought up some very good points. Ms. Gail, I hope you'll share one of your messages with us next time you're on, because your messages are always so timely. But Robin, you brought up a very interesting point. Home is supposed to be a safe place, a haven, a place where you can go and cocoon. And now that has shifted, that has changed. As a working woman, if you're working at home, home is now has a different meaning. And it's not, you don't have that clear cut, all right, I'm leaving y'all here, I'm going home, get in my pajamas, because I'm at work at home. And that messes with you mentally. So figuring out ways to delineate that, and one of the suggestions that I read is, number one, get dressed. When you get up, get dressed like you're going to the office, even if it's just the top half. But this lady said that she intentionally puts on her high heel shoes because that triggers her to know that she is at work. And you know how that's the first thing that you do when you come home, right? And you kick your shoes off, right? So she has made it a point, and she sounds like she has a home office, but when she goes into her home office, she is wearing her high heel shoes, And when the day is over, she kicks them off, and that helps her to separate that that was work and now I'm at home. I'm safe. But yeah, making sure that we are reeling in the possibility of spreading all of our work stuff around our home. No, we want to keep our work stuff in a confined space so that we can protect the rest of our home. I have a couple more comments, but it is almost time for us to jump off. So I'd be happy to share my time with anybody else who has something that they want to say. Anybody else have a comment? All right, well, let me share my screen. Well, I'm not going to share my screen. Actually, I'll just tell you. Next week, we're going to talk about stress. I got a hold of a new report from the American Psychological Association on stress and the pandemic. And so we're going to talk about not only, and it's might be a foregone conclusion. All of us have been stressed out, but I'm going to give you some really good stats, as well as I want this to be solution oriented. And so some things that might help you manage your stress. We already talked about exercising. We talked about delineating your space. That's important. We talked about actually getting up, getting dressed, showing up as if you were going to go outside to work. That can be helpful as well. So that is what we're going to talk about next week. So invite a friend, because I think we're going to spend a little bit more time on our mental health, the pandemic, stress, and recovery, resilience, bouncing back. How can we bounce back? How can we take care of ourselves? How can we take care of each other? What suggestions might you have to help manage, what has helped you manage your stress? And, I would love for us to also talk about the stress of our children and grandchildren, because this mental health crisis is not just for working adults, but when, it flows into our kids. And there are some people who anticipate a major health crisis among school-age children. It flows into our grandchildren, So it's important for you to take care of yourself, to recognize, to be proactive, and to admit that, okay, I am human. I need to just take a minute and slow down and pay attention. So that is all that we have time for today. And I am so glad that you continue to come to our community, our Well Women Wednesday community. Take care of yourself for the rest of today, and I will see you next week. Oh.